And let the Monday morning ruckus begin. I am Jay Cleveland Payne, and this is things you might not have heard. And we're going to present to you in moments the best of the weekends and latest information, politics, current events, and pop culture. And how can we say it's the best? Because you helped us pick out the stories over the weekend by following us on our feeds and telling what stories were most conversational. A lot of mainstream stuff, a lot of unconventional stuff, because we pick things from all over and you tell us what stories are really worth chatting about. It is really up to you to make this happen. As you saw in the teaser graphic, we are going to talk a little bit about Clint Eastwood, not necessarily the biggest story in the world, but something that a lot of people got into, plus 9 other stories from the past weekend that were vetted by you conversationalists, and of course crafted into a cast here for me. 10 of the top 30 stories from the weekend is what we have for you. We'll explain that in just a bit after we hit all our headlines. But first, let's get to the news. But I want to remind you before we get into that you can follow us along and see how we do things at our website. This is theconversationproject.com. Going to our website helps you see a lot of things that we're doing and spend less time in the chatty stuff and the salesy stuff. That stuff is coming, but let's get to the headlines first of the news stories that you said were most conversational, or some of them at least, for the past weekend. Oh, by the way, today happens to be Friday, June the 19th, 2023. Just in case you're wondering. Let's get to the first story for the morning. That being this one. At least 20 people shot, one fatally at Juneteenth celebration near Chicago. Now, this is a story that could have been carbon copied at least 6 times, I believe, because there were 6, maybe even a few more that weren't majorly reported shootings over the weekend that were somehow associated to holiday celebrations. Not so much because it is Juneteenth, but because it's a holiday weekend, a lot of things were going on, just in general, some private parties as well. People were shot and killed in some places. We will see sometime today or sometime tomorrow, I guess, when we kind of go through all the stuff and becomes the talking point for the folks who want to outlaw whatever when they outlaw these days. But in this particular one, 23 people were injured, one fatally, when a gun erupted at a Sunday at a Juneteenth celebration in suburban Chicago. Sheriff's deputies responded to the 911 call of a fight breaking out nearby and heard gunshots. Several victims were treated at area hospitals for injuries they suffered attempting to flee the area. Most of them, as you can see, fairly light, but one person was killed fatally in this one. Witnesses described a scene of panic with people scattering in all directions, seeking cover from the barrage of gunfire. Hopefully we'll have some idea of why this thing happened, who the people involved were, so we can put them to some sort of justice. But as we said, this is one of many things that happened over the weekend, as weekends tend to be, and over a holiday weekend, giving an extra sort of emphasis on what's going on out there. At number 2 this morning, or the second story, I should say, not number 2 necessarily, The Flash opens at $55 million, a step off the typical superhero pace. Now, The Flash opened number 1 this week in the box office, as expected, but only with $55 million. Most superhero movies essentially are sort of just stacked at opening at least $100 million. The number 3 movie this week, Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man movie, the cartoon animated version, it opened 3 weeks ago and was over $100 million in its open debut. In between those were Elemental by Disney Pixar, just for some context. But the long-awaited Flash movie, which had a lot of issues with the character of a character and a lot of things that people were geeking out for, including the arrival of a weird time travel mix, which phased out Ben Affleck's Batman for Michael Keaton's Batman, and a Superman who does not exist in the world, came out to a pretty big start for the most part. Only $64 million in its first 4 days, because you got a holiday, and $75 million internationally. So globally, it's $139 million, so it's not so bad there. Domestically, not so great. A lot of it is the hype around The Flash, although the Flash movie apparently is a better movie than expected, even with the blowing up of the DC extended universe. And a lot of movies are about, essentially, as we said, Ezra Miller, the actual star of the Flash, who has done some very bad things, and people aren't so happy about him still being in the film. Story number 3, third one for the morning. Jeopardy fans stumped after Lord's Prayer question stumped all 3 contestants. Actually, Jeopardy fans were stunned as the contestants were stumped by the story. Sometimes reading is not fundamental. The 3 contestants did not attempt to solve the puzzle, and host Mia Balick revealed the answer was hallowed. Some fans of the quiz show found the unanswered question distressing, while others took a more lighthearted approach. Essentially, people ain't going to church and don't understand what the Lord's Prayer is. The moment sparked debate about whether Jeopardy contains too many questions about the Bible and Christianity, by the way. It also is possible that some contestants had a hunch that what is hallowed was the correct response, but just did not give it. No excuses. They didn't get it right. Now, whether there's way too much Bible in Jeopardy, that's something that may be up for debate, although it's a valid thing. But the Bible, even if you're not a follower of Christianity or any other religion, is historic text that people should learn more about because, it's the questions. The questions, man. Clint Eastwood sets final film of his career at Warner Brothers. The studio's willingness to work with Eastwood may be a sign that new CEO David Zaslav has changed his tune about things going on. Zaslav cutting prices, slashing people, everything must go, fixtures and everything in a lot of places. And they're going to work on Eastwood's latest project, or his last project in this case, currently titled Juror Number 2. It's not certain what exactly it will be and whether this is actually going to be his final project, but he's kind of up there, about to turn 93 years old, 50 decades directing itself, and even more time doing acting. His films are really easy to do because he essentially does one take. Everybody has to know their lines and they kind of go with it. There's very few retakes and reshoots for his movies, so they're fairly inexpensive to do, if you will. So that's one reason why they may want to go with this. It's not big budget, it's not a lot of flash, and it seems like it's going to be one of those, as Clint Eastwood stories have been lately, just sort of solitary sort of stories that, old man does something and does it for 2 hours. We shall see when this thing comes out, what it is, and how well it's perceived. A quick look into sports, sort of. Here's your headline. Brittney Griner reportedly allowed to fly in private planes after harassment in Dallas airport. About a week or so ago, Brittney Griner was in an airport traveling with her team when she was harassed, and the team was harassed by just general jerks, people being jerks. This was not, in some cases, there are people who were mobbing her, asking for autographs, saying that she did brave things. Some people not so happy with her being over there and have voiced their opinion. This certain group was a bit extra vocal, a little extra pushy, if you will. And because of that, Brittney Griner is being allowed to fly by charter to her different destinations. Now, this is going to become a larger issue because, one person unfair advantage. So there will be some rewriting of the rules so that there may be more people that can take advantage of this thing. Right now, the high profile that's on Brittney Griner is a reason for the safety of herself, her teammates, or people that work for the organizations in the WNBA, and some other people just around when these incidents happen. This is the best route to take care of it and keep things down, lower the temperature, if you will. Sticking in sports somewhat, this is a sad story. Deion Sanders may have to get his foot amputated. Coach Prime may have to lose part of his foot due to blood flow problems in the area, according to doctors for the Colorado football team. Sanders' blood pressure in his foot hasn't been higher than his arm for a year, and it's now at about 66% of the normal rate, which obviously blood not going to your foot, no circulation. That means a lot of bad things for the foot. In order to basically save his life, to keep his foot from killing himself, he may have to lose 2 toes on the foot in the process. During his coaching at Jackson State, he dealt with the pain, including an on-game days where he just sort of fussed through it. But now it seemed like there's something seriously wrong, and he may have to deal with it on a bigger level. We are definitely sending out, our prayers and thoughts out to Deion Sanders for this thing here, this health thing. We're also sending out thoughts and prayers because he's in for a big time shock this year, I think, as he plays football in a bigger league in Colorado. Although I think he'll do fine. He'll say he'll do fine, of course. I think it's not going to be the quick turnaround that people were expecting or are wanting from there. They're going to sell a lot of tickets and get a lot of hype, but I think it's going to be a couple of years before they're actually contending. Whether they're going to go national championship ride, I'm not seeing that in Colorado, but we'll see what happens as Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, has to deal with, 1, his foot problem, and 2, his new gig. We've talked about it, and I guess we're done talking about it. Not very much news in their announcement, just Al Pacino and Noor Alfallah welcome new baby. Welcome their son, Roman. that's the name, into the world. The actor's representative said to CBS News this weekend, that's where we pulled our link for story, the pair has been romantically linked since April 2022. So yes, more math to do. She's 29, early 30s. Pacino's 80, so there's that big gap there. And of course, they've only been together for a year. So joke number one, Pacino moves fast. Joke number two, this thing probably won't last. And that's really the sad part about this. A lot of discussion on whether the kid, now named Roman, is going to have a fair childhood because, his dad is 80 years old as it is. So by the time he's walking, talking, doing things, he's probably not going to be throwing the ball around the backyard with his dad, more like with his older brothers and sisters. However, it's going to be well taken care of. That's definitely the case. So we can, I guess, vouch for that. A couple of odd ones to wrap up for the morning. First, a 21-year-old woman accused of posing as a high school student so she could learn English. That's what the robot editor told me in the posting. A 28-year-old woman and her mother were taken into custody after posing as a 17-year-old to enroll in a Louisiana high school. Gutierrez Sierra, that's her last name, for some reason didn't give me her first name, told the investigators she enrolled in school to learn English language and further her education. She caused no trouble and did her schoolwork, the sheriff said, which, is a plus. Texas found a fake passport and birth certificate along with belonging to Miss Gutierrez Sierra, who had used them to enroll her daughter in school. The older enrolled the younger into the school so that she can learn and get better in education. But she went about this by choosing to be 10 years younger. As I say often, there is no way you could pay me to go back to high school at this point in time. There's just no way, no how. For some reason, plenty of older people are trying to get themselves back into high school for various reasons. Some nefarious, some apparently just want to learn English. The Ecuadoran woman who knocked on her coffin during her own wake is now officially dead. A 76-year-old woman who was declared dead and surprised her relatives by knocking on her coffin during her wake died after 7 days of intensive care. So essentially, the lack of oxygen and this being in the conditions eventually did take her out, even though they thought she was pretty much dead enough to have a funeral anyway. Similar events have happened in the United States recently, including a woman who was declared dead and woke up gasping for air. Ecuador's health ministry confirmed Saturday that Montoya had died from ischemic stroke after spending a week in intensive care. She's officially dead. Didn't provide further information on medical investigation surrounding the original case, how they thought she was dead and she was not. Her remains are back in the funeral home where she woke up, and she'll be buried in a public ceremony again. For real this time? We shall play this one out. And finally, this is one that's been floating around for a bit, and because of some weird shenanigans we had over the week with our Twitter feeds and our Facebook feeds being essentially banned for a bit, this one went and popped up, got some attention, and enough attention to be of note, so we're going with it. Lifetime hotel ban lifted for man who accidentally threw a Seagull pepperoni party in his room. And it sounds exactly like what happened. Pepperoni was left in the room. Seagulls flew into the room. They had a party. Wasn't quite the party you want to be at. And Nick Burchell was issued a lifetime ban from Fairmont Empress in Victoria, British Columbia because of it. In 2018, he decided it was finally time to try to clear his name, and hotel reversed the ban and gave him 3 weeks of consolation. Yes, this story is kind of old, but it was one that's been floating around the internet as one of those good news things, so we decided to kind of wrap this thing up, especially with the weekend that was a lot of craziness on our end, dealing with some issues of technical stuff, and shootings on a holiday day. Today, the 19th, is Juneteenth. We'll get to that in a bit. But with a big weekend where a lot of the focus was on shootings and violence on a holiday weekend, which was a celebration, we wanted to wrap things up on a lighter end. Congratulations, Mr. Burchell, in getting your ban lifted. Please, no more Seagull pepperoni parties. Thank you in advance. Now, let's talk about our teaser story. This is a story we can talk about tomorrow, assuming you watched this today because it's a holiday and you want to chat this one up. The headline reads, website owners say traffic is plummeting after Facebook algorithm change. Oh boy, do we know that. A change in the algorithm, change in how things go through various website owners from various places, including mine, things that aggregate and use Facebook to spread the news, are once again saying Facebook isn't spreading the news. Something they're often cited for. They're doing it again. We can talk about this one tomorrow if you deem this one conversation worthy. Go to our feeds on Facebook and Twitter. Facebook.com/This Is a Conversation Project and Twitter.com/th_conversation. And you just have to follow us on our feeds. Like, love, hate, share, engage in the stories. The higher the engagement, and now that we are getting engagement again, the better chance we have of talking about the story tomorrow. Now, today we took 10 stories from top 30 over the weekend. Tomorrow we're going to take 8 stories from top 15, do that 4 more times till Friday, and give you the 8 stories in things you might not have heard. So if you want to get those, or at least give them to us, you simply go to our feeds on Facebook and Twitter and let us know. And we'll tell you how you can get those in various ways in literally just a bit. First, a break for commercials, or a commercial break for Flowers Fast. We are extending our Flowers Fast push. We did this on Friday for people to get into the groove and maybe not miss out on Father's Day. We're going to make sure you keep this one in your back pocket because Flowers Fast can take care of you with flowers. Pause for effect. Fast. Flowers Fast is a online florist that's attached to all the FTD networks of florists. So essentially you go to Flowers Fast, you go to their website, and you get a great deal on what they have selected for FTD. And FTD is networked across the nation, the world, if you will, in some places. So you can get whatever bouquet or whatever gift set, whatever set of meats that they have to send out there pretty quickly. In fact, if you go in the morning and put in an order early enough, you can get it by late afternoon in some floral areas. Now check the availability for that. But if you're in a pinch and miss something, you can get something fixed pretty fast. Next day is fairly simple. Sundays happen sometimes. So if you got sawdust on Friday and got yourself something for your dad for Sunday, congratulations. If you heard us talk about it on our weekend podcast on Saturday, well, hopefully you put the order in so it can get there today. Flowers Fast will take good care of you, and they'll take care of you fast, and they take care of us as an affiliate link. So when you use Flowers Fast as your florist, we get a small percentage of the sale to us, to our coffers. It doesn't cost you anything extra, and it helps us out as well. So if you enjoy what we're doing, one way to help us out is to visit our sponsors and visit one of these sponsors we're pushing today, which is at Flowers Fast. Our link is at thisisaconversationproject.com/flowersfast. Thisisaconversationproject.com/flowersfast. Check them out today and keep this in your pocket for other days, just in case you need to get out of a jam or you just are thinking about doing something special in a instant. Use Flowers Fast. Let's talk about us. Time to promote us for a moment. It is the Conversation Project. We are living online at thisisaconversationproject.com. What do you find at the Conversation Project? Links to things we do. Of course, this thing here, things you might have heard. It's a live video at 5:50 Central Time every single weekday morning. It's a replay once we click the button, and it sits on the YouTube forever. And it's a podcast once we trim it up a little bit and do a little audio editing. But we also have weekend podcasts, which are part of this stuff here. The weekly wrap up, which gives you the top 10 stories per the pure numbers engagement that you say so, plus a story a week where I get a chance to opine on one of the top 10 stories. And we do various other drops here or there as news breaks, as news comes on, and fewer things come up. When we get to the fun stuff in a minute, we chop up a lot of things there and put them out on TikTok and YouTube shorts for quick things to digest on facts that you might not have heard, and birthday stuff, because birthdays are cool. If you think what we're doing is kind of cool, we're doing great work, we're providing a pretty good service, we could use your help. One, make sure you're going to the feeds, Facebook and Twitter, and telling us what stories to work on, because that's how we make this thing different from all the other news yackers out there. 2, watch us. Share the videos and links and audios with people so we have more people listening and better engagement. 3, stop by a sponsor, buy something. It's something for you and helps us a bit. And the 4th thing you can always do is check out our partnerships page. Partnerships page allows you to directly partner up with us to keep things going. You can do a subscription for coffees of a month at Buy Me a Coffee. There's a link there on the partnerships page. You can also just do one-time gifts via Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, things like that. We do not turn down money around here. Your money is good, trust me. So if you want to help us keep us doing these things, it will be great, especially with all the things in turmoil. If you follow my story, we're dealing with a lot of other things. I've got, despite, having a wife and a daughter who like nice stuff, we're also in the process of rebuilding a house after a storm. It's a big ordeal, and, resources from this don't take away from it. But, these are resources that, and time and energy that help for the things. So helping us make this thing happen can help other things happen. We greatly appreciate it. I greatly appreciate all of you, and I greatly appreciate the chance we get to do to this thing, getting to the fun stuff for the morning. Yay, fun stuff. Yay for the morning. Let's go to birthdays, starting off for Juneteenth birthdays, June 19th birthdays, officially talking about Phylicia Rashad, 75 years old today, who may have lost her footing as one of the greatest TV moms out there, not from anything she did, but still performing things here or there, and still just being a pillar of the community. Thank you so much, Phylicia Rashad, for your service out there. Paula Abdul, 61 years old on the day, forever your girl, despite leaving us on American Idol to those folks that are there still. But Paula Abdul is still out there and still doing well at 61 years old. And happy birthday, Zoe Saldana, who is 45 years old on this day. Moving on to this day, back in the day. So for the 19th of June, going back, starting off in 1914, General Mills in Minneapolis created a new dry breakfast cereal called Cheery Oats. Because they're cheery. They're made of oats. The name was later shortened to Cheerios. There's your origin story for your Cheerios. Get a bowl today and celebrate. In 1978, the Garfield comic strip was debuted. Obviously, it's still, as far as I know, Garfield is still going. I don't actually read the funnies anymore. So that's one thing that life has changed around the world. Don't pick up full papers and don't have time to kind of stumble upon comic book strips. But Garfield, when I was a kid, when they were producing and publishing the Garfield comics and books and things like that, you bought them in books fairs. Garfield was the whole biz back in the 80s, and it debuted today, way back to when, in 1978. I'll have to see whether Garfield is still produced right now. Jim Davis, the longtime producer of that. We'll see. We'll check that out today. And in 2019, U.S. senators received a classified briefing on possible UFO sightings by the U.S. Navy. This was one of the first public admissions by the government that the government was dealing with UFOs. I mean, there's always Area 51 and there's all, alien stuff and whatnot. But an actual official briefing, classified, which we were told about, we're giving the senators about what the Navy pilots were seeing out there. And this has come into full effect as about a month ago, they had the last batches of meetings and hearings before they released the actual documents to public record. So we're going to get a report really, really soon on UFOs or UAPs by the military. People are geeked out about this. So we shall see if the little green man... Oh, there's also a whistleblower saying that we have an alien spacecraft somewhere that no one's talked about. That's what's really catching people's attention. Let's talk about today's celebration day, and it is Juneteenth, June the 19th. It's actually the federal holiday, third year being observed, is being done on the day this year. Just it fell on that day, so this is the day you get off for Juneteenth. Juneteenth celebrates the announcement to slaves in Galveston, Texas, as 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was read and the Civil War was over about a year or so. Union troops made their way down to Galveston, saw the people working as slaves, and said, "Yeah, y'all don't need to do this anymore because y'all ain't slaves." This was followed by weeks of celebration, and of course, as one would expect, the kind of what now moments, which is where we are today. But this celebration, which was more or less a locality to Texas and turned into more of a African-American sort of thing over years. Back, 20 years ago, I had no idea about Juneteenth. I learned more about it when I came here to Arkansas and became a bigger thing. Now a federal holiday. In fact, so quickly we've made a holiday. Essentially, it was passed on a Thursday, and by it's like, okay, y'all got Friday off. It worked out like that, something along those lines. Juneteenth. Celebrate Juneteenth today, and reflect on some of the weirdness we had with the violence that happened on three-day weekend. That does happen, but reflect on sort of the thoughts and process of Juneteenth. Put yourself in the situations that the people at this time were, and put yourself in situations that people in situations where they don't have their freedom, don't know they're free, are. It's a bit daunting. It's a bit much. Don't make it too heavy, but just sort of think about the reason for the day you probably have the day off. Some people, it's a newer holiday. Some people don't get that. Some people have to shift this one or other ones. But think about the day for the day it is. And finally, one more thing you might not have heard. Many networks are trying to fill in their fall schedules with reality television in order to get around the impacts of the writer's strike. However, an analysis from the Morning Consult found that viewers are less likely to actually watch and engage with the shows compared to scripted programming, preferring them as background viewing rather than a kind of appointment television that networks have traditionally used to anchor their nights. Among adults, 51% said they prefer watching dramas with undivided attention, and 41% said they prefer watching comedies with undivided attention. On the other hand, only 25% said they prefer to watch reality television with total attention, and just 33% said they'd watch the shows undivided, two types of products that networks will be airing a whole lot in the coming fall. Though I missed a comma there as I read that, but you get the point on this one. People don't want reality TV. It might be cheaper, easier, and sometimes a bit more explosive, but people want stories that are, actually written out to some sort of effect, even in the venues where the shows and the stories tend to not work out. Even in canceled and failed dramas and comedies where things get weird, they are always preferred over than watching another season of MILF Island on the Run or whatever it is they're running this season. MILF Island on the Run actually sounds like a pretty good show. I'd probably watch that one, to be honest. But let's not worry about that now. Let's worry about your Juneteenth and your Monday, June 19th, 2023, and this version of the Things You Might Have Heard videocast podcast now being over. I want to thank you all for being with us for the show, whether you're watching it live, watching it in the replay, or listening to it as an audio version, or even reading it in the podcast or in the newsletter, which I'm not sure you hear it, but there you go. Thank you so much for being a part of what we're doing here every single day. This project was created as a way for me to get deeper into news stories and not just be stuck with the 5 things that are being said over and over again all day long in mainstream media, because that gets to me. Me being out of news full time made it hard to get to my news junkie life. So there was that. But also just a way to have literally better conversations with you guys out there, conversation with the people around the world, literally around the world, talking up stories on those ways. Email me at theconversationinbox@gmail.com or directly jclevelandpayne@gmail.com. Stop by our website, see if there's a sponsor you like, see if you want to partner up with us, see if there's another version of us that's out there. The TikTok is on fire, trust me. And make sure that you guys are staying hydrated, staying limber, and on task for all the grand things that you are here to do. I need you to be a viewer. I need you to do great things for the people around you because they need you to do great things. So let's all do together because you need you to be here as well. We're going to wrap this up for this holiday. We're not expecting big numbers today because it is a holiday. Most people aren't going to work, so they're not getting their morning shot. So hopefully you're watching this in the replay and enjoying it. Email me or give a comment in the video wherever you're seeing it to say where you're from, what's going on, and how you're enjoying what's going on, and give us some insights on some of the things we've done to hopefully improve some things. Back on the scene for all the socials so you can engage in all the stories. Do that so we have something to talk about tomorrow. And tomorrow at 5:50, we'll talk about it here on Things You Might Have Heard from the Conversation Project, brought to you by More Better Media, LLC.